the Halo Infinite gameplay demo left most of us hopeful. The designs were brought back to what made them so iconic in the first place, and the world had this sense of exploration and intrigue, which had been missing for a lot of players since Bungie left the franchise. But it also made people worried. People claimed it looked dated, that the designs were too simple, and that the new weapons didn't seem to belong in a Halo game. And that's why I'm wondering, is Halo Infinite's art style truly classic? Greetings, Banished here. In this video, we'll go over all the different aspects of a Halo game's art style to determine if Halo Infinite looks classic or not. My point with this video, however, is not to say what's better. I just want to present to you how I've perceived Infinite's art style so far. And the points I'll be covering are the Master Chief, the UNSC, Forerunner Architecture, the Covenant, the Banished, and the environment. And in the end, we'll see if the majority of these are considered classic or not. Let's begin. When talking about classic Chief, people often refer to a set of Mark 6 armor seen in Halo 2 and 3. But what makes this set of armor classic? Overall, the armor goes for a very simple design, only using 3 colors. Green for the Mjolnir armor itself, black for the undersuit, and gold for the visor. When you compare that to, say, Halo 4's version of the Mark 6, it's easy to see why this one isn't considered classic. Instead of just having one green color and one black color, Halo 4 gave the armor much more depth in its coloration, which consequently led to it being a bit too complex for its own good. The classic visor also had these very specific simple lines, which gave the Mark 6 its own unique look. These were changed to something a bit more aggressive and organic in Halo 4. Yet this part of the helmet remained more or less faithful to the classic design philosophy. When we saw our first glimpse of Chief's new armor in the 2018 reveal, it was clear 343 were going to give the fans what they asked for. The helmet was a true evolution of the Mark 6, being the most similar to Halo 2 and 3's helmet, with some minor Halo 4 details thrown in there as well. This design wasn't finished yet, however. As in the 2019 trailer and this year's gameplay trailer, the Chief is rocking an even more classic set of armor. The helmet this time around being even closer to the Bungie era Master Chief. The armor has 3 simple colors, it has a slight alteration of the classic visor lines, and the overall design of the armor just screams classic Chief. So is the Master Chief classic? Without a doubt. Halo's take on a futuristic military faction is unique, to say the least. While you might expect we would have had sleek and shiny energy weapons in the 26th century, Bungie gave Marines modern-day looking guns, but with a huge focus on simplicity. Vehicles such as the Warthog and the Pelican also follow this gritty army green aesthetic. And from what we've seen so far, the UNSC in Halo Infinite is just that. Aside from a few designs, such as the MK50 sidekick, that go a little too far realism-wise, the guns, the vehicles, and the people serving in the army fit perfectly in the Halo universe. So is the UNSC classic? Yes, it is. Forerunner structures were one of the first things we discovered way back in Combat Evolved, and I think we all remember the first time we set foot on Installation 04, seeing these mysterious beam emitters, bridges, and very unnatural caves. What made them stand out from the Covenant and the UNSC were not only the shiny silver metal, the very precise corners, but also the more fine details. These engravings gave them almost a church-like appearance, along with the rust and dirt, which showed just how long gone these ancient aliens actually were. The Forerunner architecture we've seen from both the reveal and the gameplay trailer seems to be much more in line with 343's vision. While the inclusion of beam emitters is very reminiscent of CE, the designs themselves are much more organic and smooth, aside from the more angular ones seen in the Bungie games. Something that seems to be a significant part of Halo Infinite are these pillars shooting up from the ground, bending the terrain in very interesting ways. Now you might say that this is more classic Forerunner design, which it is with its sharp edges, but something is missing. They all look bland. Classic Forerunner architecture was never just a solid blank color. There was silver, bronze, there were old engravings and hieroglyphs scattered all over the surfaces. Now, to be fair, we haven't seen anything Forerunner up close yet, so we can't know for sure. But at the moment, is the Forerunner architecture classic? Not really. Before you correct me on this one, let me just make it clear that the Covenant as we know them probably won't be in Halo Infinite. What we do know, however, is that there seems to be another faction besides the Banished we'll be facing in Infinite. One that uses a very, dare I say, iconic Covenant aesthetic. What made the Covenant so iconic to begin with was not only their round and purple look, but also their incredibly unique designs. Weapons like the Needler and the Plasma Rifle demonstrated perfectly how alien these guys were. The problem many had with 343's designs for the Covenant were the fact that they didn't seem much alien anymore. The Storm Rifle, replacing the Plasma Rifle, seemed more like a Covenant version of the UNSC's Assault Rifle. But after seeing the old school elites, the very Halo 3-esque brutes, and the new yet familiar guns, it's clear 343 are going back to the roots of the Covenant. While you could argue their colors are a bit too matte, and the new Pulse Carbine resembles a Storm Rifle, in my opinion, these points are minor, and don't change the overall recognizable aesthetic. So are the Covenant classic? They are. Now, covering the Banished is a little tough, considering they've only been around since 2017. But really, what the Banished were was a continuation of the Brutes. In the earlier games, Brutes' savage nature was just a small part of the Covenant, but in this new faction, we got to see it in its fullest potential. The Banished were scavengers, using old Covenant and even UNSC equipment to aid them in battle. Besides the red and grey color scheme, the Brutes' weathered and worn aesthetic was always in the spotlight. So what do we see in Halo Infinite? Well, it's very clear these are Banished infantry. The red is there, and the way the drop pods light on fire and explode is just a great way of over-exaggerating their brutish nature. But purely aesthetically, the designs lack what made Brutes, well, Brutes. The armors are just red. There are barely any scratch marks or even a secondary color for that matter. This isn't to say that the design itself isn't good. It's just not how we remember the Brutes. So are the Banished classic? It's close, but not quite there. What made Alpha Halo such an exciting world to explore was not only because of the structures belonging to an ancient alien race, but also the weirdly recognizable environments. We're so used to seeing incredibly alien worlds in sci-fi, and that's why the blue sky, the green grass, and the old pine trees made Halo what it is today. There's almost this feeling of nostalgia walking through the woods, like you've been here before, only to look up in the sky and realize you're standing on a man-made structure floating in space. The moment Chief steps out of the Pelican, it's Combat Evolved all over again. There's no insanely alien flora, no purple sky, everything looks familiar. Pine trees, dandelions, and of course the Halo ring in the horizon. You could argue the Forerunner pillars changing the landscape takes away from the classic environment, but I'd say it's a perfect evolution of the blending of nature and Forerunner architecture. So is the environment classic? It sure is. And that leaves us with 4 out of 6. 343 Industries are really doing a great job blending Bungie's classic art style with their own new vision of Halo. I'm actually glad this is not looking 100% classic. I'd rather see a modernization of the iconic designs than a blatant ripoff. Whenever Halo Infinite's coming out, you can be damn sure I'll be making more videos about this art style. If you have any other thoughts, please let me know in the comments. Let's start a friendly discussion. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's not really the same style as my 2 previous videos, but those videos take a really long time to make, so I'm just trying to figure out what I can do between these evolution videos. If you like this video, give it a like. If not, a dislike. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I wish you all the best, and take care. Banished.